Passing the test is only half the story. The half that most people overlook, the half that actually determines whether the test meant anything, is what you do in the days immediately after it. Because the test creates pressure, and pressure produces a response, and the response produces a new state. And the new state that emerges from how you handled the pressure of April 4th's first quarter moon is the state from which everything the rest of this month is going to build. 2 days have passed since the first quarter moon brought its friction, and its challenge, and its pointed examination of whether the direction chosen at the Aries new moon was built on real ground. That pressure has subsided, not disappeared, but moved through its peak. And in the space that pressure leaves when it passes, something critical happens that most people are entirely unaware of. A momentum decision gets made quietly, in the absence of the pressure rather than in the presence of it. The person either continues moving in the direction they were testing, continues with the specific, deliberate, next step engagement that the test was asking for, or they stop. They pause. They allow the relief of the pressure subsiding to become a reason to rest rather than a reason to consolidate. And the stopping, the pausing, the allowing of relief to substitute for continued forward motion. That is where most new cycles lose the momentum that their extraordinary beginnings generated. Not at the moment of the test. After it, in the quiet days that follow the pressure, when the urgency is no longer present to carry you through, when the friction has subsided and the forward pull is gentler and less insistent, and the old patterns of avoidance and deferral find their footing again in the space that the pressure's passing has opened. April 6th is one of those quiet days, and what you do with it, whether you continue the direction or whether you allow the post-pressure quiet to become stalling, is going to be more consequential for the rest of this month than how the test itself went. To understand the specific quality of the risk that April 6th carries, it helps to trace the arc of energy that has been moving through this period since the beginning of the new cycle. The Aries new moon on March 29th was maximum initiation energy, the highest concentration of forward force available in the cycle, released in the moment of the new moon's peak. In the days immediately following, that concentration was still high, the current was running strong, and the early momentum of the new cycle was carrying everything forward with a force that felt almost effortless compared to the retrograde period. Then April 4th arrived with the first quarter moon's friction. The pressure was real, the test was genuine, and the energy required to meet that pressure honestly, to hold the direction in the face of the doubt and the obstacle and the difficult conversation, drew on the momentum reserves of the preceding days. Meeting the first quarter moon's test costs something. It is supposed to cost something. The test is designed to require real engagement rather than automatic continuation. And now, April 6th, 2 days after the peak of that friction, you are in the post-test phase. The pressure has moved through. The energy that was drawn upon to meet it has been spent. And the cycle is asking you to continue from this point, not from the high energy concentration of the new moon, not from the urgency of the first quarter moon's test, but from the quieter, slightly more depleted, ordinary day quality of the Tuesday or Wednesday of the cycle that April 6th represents. This is the hardest moment to sustain momentum. Not the hardest moment to feel motivated. The new moon does that. Not the hardest moment to hold direction under pressure. The first quarter moon does that. The hardest moment to continue without either the motivating force of the beginning or the galvanizing force of the test. The moment when the only thing carrying you forward is the genuine quality of your commitment, stripped of everything that was making it easier to sustain. Most people discover in moments like this one that their commitment had more support from external conditions than they realized. The momentum of the new moon, the urgency of the test, the energy of the extraordinary astrological events that built toward the Aries new moon. Those things were real, and they were carrying the new direction forward in ways that felt like personal conviction, but were at least partially external conditions providing structural support. When those conditions normalize, when the cycle enters the quiet, ordinary days of the developing middle, the commitment either stands on its own or it begins to lean. April 6th is the day you find out which yours is doing. The patterns that re-emerge in the post-test quiet of a cycle's early development are remarkably consistent across people and circumstances, which makes them worth describing specifically, because recognizing your own pattern in the description is the first act of not falling into it. The most common pattern is the one that looks like regrouping but functions as retreat. After the pressure of the first quarter moon, there is a completely legitimate need to consolidate, to integrate the experience of the test, to adjust the plan in light of what the friction revealed, to take a breath before the next phase of forward motion. And that consolidation is appropriate. It is part of what the post-test days are for. But consolidation has a duration. It has a point at which it completes and the forward motion needs to resume. And the pattern that derails most new cycles at this point is the extension of consolidation past its appropriate duration, the subtle conversion of regrouping into retreat, of taking a breath into holding the breath indefinitely. The regrouping that is appropriate takes a day, maybe two. It is characterized by genuine assessment of how the first quarter moon went, honest acknowledgement of what held and what needed adjustment, and then resumed forward motion with the adjusted understanding. The retreat disguised as regrouping takes a week or 2 weeks, and is characterized by the gradual reassertion of the old patterns that the retrograde was trying to help you leave behind. The familiar ways of avoiding the thing that the test revealed as requiring the most from you. The comfortable management of the situation that prevents the genuine engagement the direction demands. The second pattern is the one that looks like recalibration but functions as abandonment. After the pressure of the first quarter moon revealed that the direction is harder to maintain than the new moon's clarity made it seem, after the friction of the test showed the actual cost of continuing, there is a compelling story available that reframes abandonment as wisdom. The direction was premature. The conditions aren't right. What the test revealed is that the timing is wrong, or the method is wrong, or the specific form the beginning took is wrong, and the intelligent response is to step back and reconsider. Sometimes this story is true. The first quarter moon's test does occasionally reveal genuine misalignment, a beginning that was built more on the momentum of the extraordinary astrological events than on the actual readiness of the direction itself. In those cases, stepping back and recalibrating is the genuinely wise response. But far more often, the story of premature or wrong timing is the old pattern speaking in the language of current wisdom. It is the familiar retreat from genuine commitment, dressed in the reasonable-sounding clothes of strategic reconsideration. And the way to distinguish between the two is brutally simple. Does the recalibration maintain the essential direction while adjusting the method, or does it abandon the direction entirely in favor of returning to the more comfortable status quo? If it maintains the direction and adjusts the method, it is genuine recalibration. If it abandons the direction, it is the old pattern reasserting itself in disguise. Here is what April 6 specifically needs from you, offered as directly as possible, because the quietness of this day makes indirect language feel less urgent than it actually is. The direction you chose at the Aries new moon and held through the pressure of the first quarter moon needs to be continued today, in the most specific, concrete, next step form available to you right now, without the support of new moon momentum, without the galvanizing pressure of the first quarter moon's test, simply because it is the right direction, arrived at through honest interior work, and the cycle is not yet even 2 weeks old, and the only reason to stop is the old pattern, not the actual quality of the direction. That continuation looks different for different people in different circumstances. For some, it is the conversation that was difficult at the first quarter moon, continued today from a slightly more grounded place now that the peak of the friction has passed. For some, it is the project or the commitment or the new habit, maintained today despite the absence of the new moon's motivating energy. For some, it is the decision that the first quarter moon's pressure was questioning, reaffirmed today through action rather than through continued deliberation. Whatever specific form the continuation takes in your circumstances, the quality it requires from you is consistent. It requires the continuation to come from genuine conviction rather than from external support. From the honest clarity about what you are trying to build in this cycle, brought to bear on an ordinary Tuesday or Wednesday without any of the extraordinary events that have been supporting the new direction since late March. From the version of you that the retrograde was building, the more self-knowing, more honest, more genuinely committed version, showing up in the ordinary days of the cycle's development as clearly and as consistently as it showed up in the peak moments. That showing up in the ordinary quiet of April 6th is the specific act that the cycle is measuring right now. Not the dramatic act, the consistent one. There is a quality that becomes available in the days following a test that is not available during the test itself, and it is worth understanding because it changes what the post-test days are for and what they make possible. During the first quarter moon's pressure, you were responding, reacting to the friction, holding the direction against the doubt, navigating the specific challenges that the test presented. The quality of that response was largely determined by how prepared you were, by how solid the foundation of the Aries new moon's beginning was, by how much genuine self-knowledge the retrograde had produced, by how real the commitment was beneath the momentum. But in the days after the pressure subsides, a different quality becomes available: integration. The information that the test produced about which parts of the direction are solid and which need adjustment, about how the people and circumstances relevant to the new direction are actually responding, about where the genuine strength and genuine vulnerability of the new beginning are located. That information is available now in a way it wasn't available before the test. The first quarter moon revealed something, and the post-test days are when that revelation can be integrated into a more refined, more realistic, more actually fitted to the terrain version of the direction. This integration is not the same as recalibration or retreat. It is the work of someone who means what they began, who is carrying the direction forward with the additional intelligence of what the test revealed, making the necessary adjustments without abandoning the essential commitment, refining the method without abandoning the direction, acknowledging the complexity the friction revealed while maintaining the clarity that justified beginning in the first place. The post-test integration available on April 6th is one of the most genuinely productive activities available in the early arc of the new cycle. And it is specifically available only to the people who held the direction through the first quarter moon's test, rather than abandoning it at the first real friction. The test had to be passed for the integration to have anything to work with. And the integration is what converts the test survival into actual deepening of the commitment, into the more grounded, more reality-tested, more genuinely solid version of the beginning that can sustain itself across the full arc of the month. The rest of April is shaped by what happens in the next week. The Aries new moon cycle will reach its midpoint at the full moon, and the full moon will reveal what the cycle has produced in its first half. The quality of what the full moon reveals, whether the seeds planted at the Aries new moon have been tended consistently enough to show real growth, or whether they were planted and then inadequately tended through the post-test quiet of the cycle's developing middle, is largely determined by what happens in the days immediately following the first quarter moon, which means April 6th and the days around it are doing the work that will be visible at the full moon. They are the unglamorous, unsupported, ordinary day tending of what was extraordinarily initiated. And the relationship between the quality of this ordinary day tending and the quality of what the full moon reveals is direct. The cycle grows in proportion to the consistency of engagement it receives in the quiet days, not just in the high-energy moments of new moon and first quarter moon. In the days like today, when nothing external is compelling the continuation, and the only thing carrying the direction forward is the genuine quality of the commitment to it. You have the genuine quality. The retrograde built it. The Pisces new moon's depth reset the foundation beneath it. The Aries new moon's initiation launched it, and the first quarter moon's test, which you have either just passed or are still integrating, revealed its actual strength. What you do with April 6th, with the quiet, post-test, ordinary day reality of a cycle that is now asking for consistency rather than urgency, is what determines whether that genuine quality of commitment produces the outcome this month that the extraordinary preparation of March was building toward. Continue. Today, in the specific, concrete, next step form that your circumstances make available, without waiting for the motivation of a new peak, without requiring the galvanizing pressure of the test to carry you through. Simply because the direction is right, the commitment is genuine, and the cycle has more of its arc to run, and every day of consistent forward motion in the quiet period between the first quarter moon and the full moon is a day the seeds are being tended rather than left to find their own way in unprepared soil. April is going to produce results. It was always going to produce results. The cycle generates outcomes regardless of what you do in it. The question that April 6th is quietly asking is what kind of results? The kind that come from a cycle that received consistent, genuine, deliberate engagement through its ordinary middle days, that was tended patiently and honestly even when the extraordinary motivating energy of the beginning had normalized into the ordinary energy of the developing middle. Or the kind that come from a cycle that started with extraordinary initiation and then gradually lost the consistent engagement that initiation requires in order to become actual outcome. You are in the days that determine which of those two versions of April you are building. The test of the first quarter moon is behind you. The full moon that will reveal what the cycle has produced is ahead of you. And between those two markers, in the ordinary quiet of the cycle's developing middle, is the specific period when the consistent, unglamorous, patient tending of the direction you chose at the new moon is the most important work available. Do it today, and tomorrow, and the day after that, without the drama of the new moon or the urgency of the first quarter moon. With the quiet, genuine, daily consistency of someone who understands that the extraordinary preparation of March was building toward an April that produces something real, and that something real requires exactly this: the commitment to continue when the only reason to continue is that continuing is the right thing to do. The test is over. The next phase is here. And the only question that matters now is whether you are going to show up for it. Show up. Consistently. Today is where it begins.